Hey everybody, welcome to Crackback Tuesday number 168 on the Mana Leek. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves another pack of Guilds of Ravnica, which we're going to crack open. We're going to see what's in it, and we're going to see what we would take pack one, pick one, if this was a draft. This is a sponsored Crack-a-Pack. If you want to get in on this, you can go to patreon.com/themanaleek and join at the $5 level or above. You can go above if you want. I'm not going to stop you. And each week you'll be in the randomized draw to get all the cards from the pack, or none of the cards, or whatever the cards, whatever you want out of the pack. Not everybody wants everything. This week, this pack is going to Daniel M. Up first is Wall of Mist. Wall of Mist is 1 and a blue for a creature wall defender. It's an 0/5 and it's not a first pick. It's generally not playable if you're a very controlling deck and you maybe didn't find quite enough removal or whatnot, and you need something to stop the Boros Menace, then Wall of Mist is okay. I've certainly played some, but it's never a first pick. Up next is Wojak Bodyguard. Wojak Bodyguard is 2 and a red for a creature human soldier with Mentor. It can't attack or block alone. It's got to have a friend, and it's a 3/3. It's good. It's shockingly good. If you're Boros, you're just barfing your hand out as quickly as possible, and this guy's gonna have some friends, and he's gonna make those friends bigger. Wojak Bodyguard's totally fine. I don't think I want to first pick it. It's obviously the first pick against a Wall of Mist, but let's hope the pack gets better, maybe. Up next is a Take Heart. Take Heart is a single white mana for an instant at common. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and then you gain 1 life for each attacking creature you control. I've seen people try to gain life on defense, or I've seen people try to count all their creatures. No, it's only the attackers that you gain life for. Be aware of that. This is a fine combat trick. It's 1 mana, so it's super easy to keep up, but it's just a combat trick. It's not a first pick. Up next is Dowser of Lights. Dowser of Lights is 4 and a black for a creature horror. It's a vanilla 4/5, and it's totally fine. We talked about this last week. It's just a good card in blue-black control. If you kill everything, if you counter everything, this is going to be the biggest thing on the board by far. So Dowser of Lights is fine. You'll always play one if you are in that sort of controlling deck. You know, if you're somehow a little bit more aggro, you might not. But I think both black decks in this format would be totally happy with the Dowser of Lights. But I don't think I'd ever be totally happy first picking it. Up next is Crawl Foragers. Crawl Foragers is 4 and a green for a creature insect scout. It's got Undergrowth. When Crawl Foragers enters the battlefield, you gain a life for each creature card in your graveyard. No thanks. I don't want to pay 5 mana for a 4/4 that gains me between 0, often 0, many times 0, and upwards of what, like 4 life on average. And there's just so many cases where you're overpaying for an absolutely meaningless amount of life. So I've got no interest in Crawl Foragers. I never want to play it, so I'm certainly not first picking it. Up next is Samala Woodshaper. Samala Woodshaper is 2 green white for a creature elf druid. It's a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top four cards of your library, and you may reveal an enchantment or a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Samala Woodshaper is fine. Totally fine. In fact, good. It's a 2/1 for 4, so you're definitely overpaying, but you're generally going to hit a creature, and if you're in green-white, it might even hit like a Luminous Bonds or a Conclave Tribunal. Super, super solid. Pretty happy with it. Never want to first pick it, but the second that I know I'm Selesnya, yeah, I'm grabbing a Samala Woodshaper for sure. Up next is Devious Cover-Up. Devious Cover-Up is 2 blue for an instant counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it in the graveyard. And you can also return 4 cards from your library to your, or 4 cards from your graveyard to your library and shuffle them up. This card's great. This card's surprisingly good. The control deck, the blue-black deck in this format, is very controlling. Devious Cover-Up looks great in it. Sinister Sabotage, Disdainful Stroke, they all look totally fine in that deck, which of course makes me super happy because it's been a while since we've had a good blue-black control deck. It might be a little bit too good in this format, but I'm glad to see a good one nonetheless. And Devious Cover-Up is a great inclusion in that deck. It's never, ever a first pick though, I hope. Rhizome Lurcher is up next. Rhizome Lurcher is 2 black-green for a creature fungus zombie. It's got Undergrowth. It enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard, and it's a 2/2 at its base. I know people are really high on this. I know people say, oh, well, this is the best, just the absolute best common Golgari card, and it might be, which is sad for Golgari, because this is often not as big as you want. There's not a lot of ways to get creatures into the graveyard. A lot of people will tell you, oh, well, I'll just trade my creatures off. If you're plan is to have your creatures die frequently, I don't really trust your plan. So I'm not sold on Rhizome Lurcher. I'm not sold on Golgari as a whole, outside of having some extremely powerful cards like Underrealm Lich or Charnel Troll. So I'm not a huge fan of Rhizome Lurcher. I'm certainly never first picking it, and it's not a signal for me that the guild is open. Up next is Sky Knight Legionnaire. Certainly a signal that a guild is open here. Sky Knight Legionnaire is 1 red-white for a creature human knight. It's got flying, it's got haste, and it's a 2/2. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It is certainly a first pickable card, and if you see this getting passed, like, I'd say third pick, because of course second pick, maybe they took a bomb rare, but third pick, I think you might be confident that you're, people to your left are not in Boros, and you should be getting your butt in there ASAP. Sky Knight Legionnaire is fantastic. Easy first pick at the moment. And that's going to bring us... No, that's not an uncommon. Darkblade Agent is a common for some reason. 1 blue-black for a creature human assassin. As long as you've surveilled this turn, it has Death Touch. Don't forget that. Death Touch is really shoved into the middle of this paragraph, and you might miss it now and then. And when it hits the player, or an opponent, deals combat damage specifically, you can draw yourself a card. And it's a 2/3. It's good. It's a great payoff for being in Dimir, because you're going to have Surveil. There is like double or more Surveil in this set than there is any other one mechanic. So you're going to be able to get this guy on relatively easily. It's a 2/3 for 3, so it's a, ever so slightly overcosted, but not by too much. It's a totally fine card. I've never first picked one, whereas I have certainly first picked Sky Knight Legionnaires, so I don't think it's going to stay in the conversation though. On to the uncommons, no foil in this pack. Glaive of the Guild Pact is 2 generic mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each gate you control, and has Vigilance and Menace, and you equip it for 3. This is so expensive to get put onto a creature, and it just doesn't do that much unless you have all these gates, and how are you getting all these gates, and yada yada yada. I don't like this. I don't like the gate deck. I've tried it a couple of times, and it can certainly be fun, and I've certainly seen it, and I think you play this if you want to have a fun time with your draft. I don't think you play this if you want to win. It's just too swingy in what it does. A lot of the time it does nigh on nothing for 5 mana invested to get this onto a creature. I don't like it. Equipment has to be amazing, and this is not amazing. Our next uncommon is Beacon Bolt, another possible first pick here. Beacon Bolt is 1 blue-red for a sorcery. Beacon Bolt deals damage to target creature equal to the number of instants and sorcery cards you have in your graveyard, as well as exile, so it counts your jumpstart spells. And it's got jumpstart itself. Note that this does not count itself because it will be on the stack. It won't be in the graveyard or in exile, so don't try to do that. Make sure you're counting properly. But yeah, it's great instant speed, or sorry, not instant speed at all. It's great sorcery speed removal. It's repeatable removal at least one more time. It's a really good card. I'd definitely consider first picking it. And our final uncommon is Crawl Swarm. Crawl Swarm is 4 and a black for a creature insect warrior. It's got flying. You can pay 2 and a black and discard a creature card to return it from your graveyard to your hand, and it's a 4/1. Not a huge fan of this. There's a lot of stuff in the format that kills it, up to and including things like Mephitic Vapors. Not a huge fan of this card. It's a finisher. I think I prefer a Dowser of Lights to this for sure as my 5-drop in black finisher, even though it has to get through ground creatures. Just because, yeah, this dies to absolutely everything. And discarding creatures to bring this back when this is probably your finisher, outside of perhaps your 1 bomb, I'm not super sold on it. I haven't seen Crawl Swarm do amazing work, and I'm not going to first pick it anytime soon. And that leaves us with our rare, which is Legion Warboss. Certainly a first pickable card here. Legion Warboss is 2 and a red for a creature goblin soldier. It's got Mentor. At the beginning of each combat, or sorry, at the beginning of combat on your turn. I don't know all these big paragraph cards off by heart. You create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn, and this turn it must attack if able. So the first goblin has to come down, it has to attack, it's probably going to suicide into something, and then you can use this guy to start mentoring on the next turn. It's great. It's kind of like Rabblemaster. It's super, super solid. I love me a Legion Warboss. I played with it a lot. If you play with it on Arena, do not get into the habit of clicking attack with all, because the 1/1 goblins screw that up. And if you click the what you think should be attack with all button, you will just attack with a 1/1 goblin and nothing else. Be careful with that. I've made that mistake on stream. I had people remind me. I still continue to make that mistake. It's not fun. But yeah, certainly a first pickable card. Certainly above Beacon Bolt. Beacon Bolt can go away. It's really between Sky Knight Legionnaire. We get ourselves a Selesnya Guild Kit as well. It's certainly between Legion Warboss and Sky Knight Legionnaire. Unfortunately, these both go into the exact same deck, and person on our left is probably going to pick up that Sky Knight Legionnaire, otherwise perhaps that Beacon Bolt. So we might be fighting over Boros a little bit, but I'm going to take that Legion Warboss. It's just, it's a super, super, super good card. Let me know what you would have taken. Would you have taken the Warboss? Would you have taken the Legionnaire? Would you have tried to be probably way too cute and taken the Beacon Bolt and let two other people fight over Boros? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at TheManaLeek. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeek, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeek. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.